I'm out there by myself reflecting on my journey with breast cancer. The adventure part of it just pushes me and lets me prove myself to myself.
So after I was diagnosed, I wrote a song called Take Me Away, and I had actually written about how I was feeling on the inside.
My artwork is very reflective of my cancer journey, and now I get to keep creating.
Instead of a sick person, he saw bravery.
My faith has grown so much.
Those were the times when my friends came together for me.
When did I first know it was gonna be okay? I don't know, is it gonna be okay?
After my wife got better, I found rock and roll to be transformational. Doesn't necessarily solve anything, but it does let us dance on our problems.
People need to know
that it's okay to cry.
This is not gonna be forever.
Follow that fire.
Dress up and show up.
I haven't fulfilled everything that I wanted to do yet.
Tell your story. You will help someone.
Art and our company produces 4,000 or 5,000 stories of people like that every year. My dad was diagnosed. I graduated from college. I went to work at CNN, and my mom called me and said, "You know, your dad kind of burps a lot," and that internist says, "Take some Tums." And I said, "Yeah, man, it was years. I ate dinner with my dad. We didn't always get along, but we had dinner most nights." And I was pissed. I couldn't place it, but I grew up in Philadelphia, North Philadelphia, anybody's from Philadelphia, half the pharma business lives out of Philadelphia. And we finally did get to Sloan Kettering, and we at the Penn. I said, "Your dad's 68, diabetes and cancer. What are you going to do?" And I didn't really know what to do with that. I knew something was wrong with that statement. And I now call it a sense of learned helplessness in the system. And I wanted to do something about it, but I didn't know. And I went into the TV business. I worked for many years at ABC. I ran the evening news program with a guy called Peter Jennings, who died of lung cancer. So we had 15, 16 million people. I just saw that Lester Holt is resigning today. He's a guy we didn't compete with. He's sort of the other generation of this. But we're the $350 million a year business, mostly supported by the folks in this room, by pharma. And I thought to myself that there was something that we could do better. And I went out into business for myself, and I started to do films in healthcare. And I met some people at a couple clinical practices. I was extremely impressed with the Northwell guys this morning. I thought that work is just incredible. I was up at Yale, and I started to do films, and I was listening. It was some of the first people coming off. I met a guy in a hotel, breakfast like 7 a.m., and I'm like, my head is not on right. I had coffee, and I said, "My guys have filmed with you. You look great. What are you on?" He said, "I got this L1P. I'm in a stage 3. It's Izumab, Pembra," and he was on pembrolizumab, obviously the top-selling drug on planet Earth. One of the first people in this through a phase 3, and he was living kind of chronically. He'd be sick as my dad. And so I thought the story was really good. I literally never met a person in pharma. I used to produce the upfronts at ABC, never met a pharma person. We would talk about politics. And I thought that in a world of the investment going away, and hearing folks talk this morning about content and how wonderfully important it is, SurvivorNet invests tens of millions of dollars a year in content. I'm a little bit concerned that the rest of the world is owned by private equity and de-investing in what we call content. I am hopeful because I've made a company. I never knew sales. I never knew agencies. We've made a company doing, you could see a little taste of flavor in that tape, despite the AV. We sell quality. We sell humanity and a little bit of touching and feeling those men and women. Like that's what, there's a guy called Andy here who runs all we do in production. That's what's really made us, frankly, have an impact in the world and have a business. And so you can talk about content. I went to Cannes once and spoke, and everybody, as I walked down the beach, they all said, storytelling, storytelling. And I was like, I drank a rosé every time. I was like, storytelling, storytelling. And Andy was like, guys, we got to talk about storytelling. And I was like, well, what does that mean for you? For us, it means, did you teach us out a piece of humanity that you would watch if you weren't paid to work here? Do you guys think we can roll a second piece of tape? Give me a second and I'll cue you. You think we're good? Or should we scrap it? So I'll tell you something else we do. 80% of cancer patients. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make this company. We have a TV network. We do thousands of stories. We're investors, not de-investors with respect to our colleagues owned by people in private equity. We're investors in content. And I said, it's not good enough. 80% of people in oncology anyway are treated at community medicine. Anybody know that, community medicine? So like families don't get to the Sloan Kettering, don't get to Penn, don't get to Moffitt, and they do worse. And then people talk, well, how do I unite the budgets of HCP and DTC? Like I and my team, there's a nice French word called schlep, that's for Jewish people from New York and Philadelphia, go around to towns and cities and meet doctors. So if you have HR positive, HER2 negative breast cancer in Memphis, this match is nice. There aren't 500 people who write prescriptions in Memphis. There are about 20 people who see breast cancer patients in high volume, and they may or may not be comfortable without a pulmonologist giving out a new drug. And so we've taken the education mission and the HCP mission and the DTC mission and literally mapped the country. And my deal is like, if you want to grow, you got to go. So I would ask y'all if on a cue piece of tape too, there's a little more promo-y, but stick with me for a second because I don't think anybody really knows what it means to go local. So can you guys roll? We'll see what happens on this one. Thank you.
To reach the patients who need to know about new treatments, we penetrate hard-to-reach communities with localized treatment content specific to people with that disease in that city. We work with the highest volume oncologists in each city to create their own personalized patient guides about treatment, decision-making, and how to manage side effects. Incredibly personalized support for doctors who often struggle with challenges of new medication. Empowerment for patients.
Cancer did give me a sense of community, especially here in the Phoenix area.
Here's an example of how our local targeting programs are working in 20 cities around the country. For ovarian cancer, we have 40% of the potential patient population reading and watching page after page, getting the help they need. That's how SurvivorNet is reinventing the notion of patient engagement. Our physician partners tell us that SurvivorNet users are walking into the doctor's office and asking for products from our advertising partners. It's an entirely new approach to reaching ultra high-value audiences with the data to back it up. Our most important metric will always be about helping people.
I keep planning things for the future. Nothing's going to stop me.
So I'll leave you guys with a couple conversations that we really want to have. Again, I come from the news business, and I think there's this extraordinary crisis of trust. I don't think it's true or has to be true in what we all do in this room. So when people get sick, man, do they trust a doctor at the University of Pennsylvania. When you get sick and you're on Long Island and you go to the place next to the Carvel is New York Blood. Anybody live in Long Island? I had a house, East Patchogue. There's a New York Blood. They treat the skin and the breast, and I'm not sure if that's always the right place. But man, when you get sick, you trust that doctor. And I think there's a role, our business is growing, making content for pharma partners. I think that trust can be created and earned. I don't think we have to live in a world, since we deal with sick people, like we built our business in collaboration with the 69 cancer centers in the country called NCCN and NCI. And I kind of like took the model from ESPN. Like I met these guys and they said, well, yeah, at the beginning of ESPN, we didn't have sports rights. We didn't have anybody famous. And we stood on a pickup truck in ugly yellow blazers, and behind us was the SEC. And I said, well, I'll take a note from that. And because I used to work with the sales guys. There's a sales guy here. Someone who works at ESPN. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to build my brand with Yale and MD Anderson and Sloan Kettering. And I learned this word KOL. And I thought, wow, that means like the doctor I'd want to treat like my family, and the important doctors that tell the other doctors what to do. And so our version of trust is go invest in the people that you'd want your family to be around. Go make products you'd send to your own family. And so when I see my partners and there's a programmatically placed ad for breast cancer, and I get it on the New York Post, and it's next to the RFK thing saying something that may or may not be accurate. And I think to myself, wow, would I send that to my family member who's sick? And that's all. So like I think about, are we making products? And I beat the heck out of it in our company. Are the products something you'd send to your family? It's a lot of ways. I love what Jan was saying. You could tell if she's here, like, so she lit up when she was talking about her dad, and she lit up about why she does what she does. And I think that's why she's really good and lasted this long in this business, is because she cares about the work. And you could tell that, first of all, the measurement matters. I have new best friends. They work at companies called Crossix and IQVIA. Never thought I'd love them so much. They're wonderful. But you could tell, I thought, wow, like she just lit up. She was talking about her dad and the drug and what you should do. And so that's my version of trust is, are you making products? Are you placing media on things you send to your own family or not? That's kind of what we do. And I think that the conversations we'd love to have are around what does it mean to go local? And like we're investing tens of millions of dollars a year in the thesis that the marketing money is here and the patients are here. And so like if 80% of volume is at local community practices, like why aren't we there? That's what we're doing. And then I think it's easy to talk about content and humanity, and it's harder to do. And so I think what's really been interesting for us is I never knew how I could make a business out of this. Truly, I didn't know I was a pharma services company. Sounds a little naive, but that stuff we show with those women, those faces, those guys, that works. Acquisition cost, engagement, Crossix, that stuff works. And so I think I'd like to see more companies doing that. And those are the kind of conversations we like to have. Thank you. I hope the lunch was good. I'm going to sneak my way onto the boat unless it rains. So thanks so much.